am always fascinated by people who say, oh, I think having a positive mental attitude is just woo-woo stuff. I'm not sure I really understand where they're coming from. And I try to read their comments or listen to what their argument is for saying that. And their reasoning just doesn't really make sense to me. So I would like to challenge all of you people who think, positive mental attitude, where's it going to get me? It's not going to help me pay my rent. It's not going to help me get over long-term COVID. It's just kind of a flaky attitude thing that I'm not really sure I buy into. So I have a question for you. Last week I was returning from visiting my mother in Florida. So I was sitting in the airplane in Orlando Airport. We were headed back to Boston, and I'm sitting in my seat. They close the airplane's doors, and we start to pull out from the gate and head towards the runway. And all of a sudden, the plane stops, and it starts inching back in towards the gate. Oh no, we've all been there. And then here comes Captain Smith on the intercom. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Captain Smith for cockpit, flight, turbo, fuel line problem, mechanic. We got to go mechanical, turbo. We're going to be here for a few minutes. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we've all been there, right? I couldn't understand half of what he said. I'm now getting a little bit upset and anxious because I want to get home. And it's something about a blocked fuel line and a mechanic has got to be called. And who would you rather sit next to on the flight when something like that happens? Do you want to sit next to somebody who has a positive mental attitude, who's in control of their emotions and says, okay, I understand, I accept this, it happens, I'm going to be patient? Or do you want to sit next to somebody who's going to start, emitting this negative energy and taking up all the space and messing with people around them with negative comments and a negative attitude and, a negative energy and maybe possibly mistreating or being mean to the flight attendants? I mean, we know these people. Now, number one, I want to ask you, who are you in a situation like this? Are you that negative Nelly who's going to make life difficult for everybody around you? Or are you going to have that attitude of acceptance? I can't do anything about this. I'm going to stay in a positive solution-based mindset, and I'm not going to freak out over this. Now, number one, first of all, there are people on a flight who are really going to be inconvenienced and really hurt by this. Think of somebody maybe going to Boston for cancer treatments and they are on this flight and they don't feel well. Or somebody may be going to a family funeral and they're raw. Their emotions are raw from the loss of this family member. There are lots of situations where that's happening. And I'm not saying that people have to be perky and jolly and start striking up conversations and making best friends with the person sitting next to them. No, but it's who are you inside when a really difficult situation like this happens? Do you exert a positive mental attitude, an attitude of acceptance, or are you just going to make life miserable for yourself and everybody around you? It took me a long, long, long time to turn my mindset around and have an attitude of gratitude and think positively in situations like this. These are challenging times when you're sitting in the airplane and you don't know how long you're going to be there. Captain Smith didn't come on the intercom for another 20 minutes. And I'm thinking, are we going to be here 30 minutes? Or are we going to be sitting in this airplane for 3 hours and 30 minutes? The uncertainty can also trigger us. I put up my tray table. I said, I accept this. Go right ahead, fix that fuel line. I'd rather you fix it here than have a problem in the air. And I always think back to my sisters of the 1800s who were traveling the United States in covered wagon and how brave they were. And I don't have to go from Orlando to Boston in a covered wagon with 3 oxen in front of me for 11 weeks. So I adopted an attitude of gratitude. I sit quietly, and I got lucky. I had a 7-year-old sitting next to me in her Cinderella tooled dress. She had just come from Disney World. She had the crown on and a fairy princess wand, and we talked for an hour about her experiences in Disney World. And I was just so uplifted by this little girl. And I said to her before we took off, I said, "Did you see Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse?" And she said, I saw Mickey Mouse in the parade, but I did see Minnie Mouse. And I said, what was that like? And she just looked at me and glowed, and she said, Minnie Mouse kissed me on the head. I mean, I almost started to cry. I got lucky. This beautiful little girl sitting next to me, she made my flight. And I can only hope that maybe I made hers. So having that positive mental attitude allowed me to discover the gem that was sitting next to me. So something for you to think about today if you're kind of sitting on the fence about how to develop a positive mental attitude or whether it can really help. And of course, I'm here to help you develop one because it's a beautiful way to go through life. And it's a beautiful way to go through sitting on the tarmac. For what happened with us, it was 1 hour and 48 minutes, but who's counting? All right, hashtag, oh yes, you can. Talk to you soon. Bye now.